Hey everyone, welcome back. We've been on this Nikola Tesla kick lately, right? And one thing that keeps popping up is his whole fascination with quartz crystals.
Yeah, it's super
We
interesting.
found this YouTube video that goes deep into that and even tries to connect it to ancient civilizations and
Yeah.
modern tech too.
Oh, wow.
So for this deep dive, I think let's try to figure out, was Tesla just curious about crystals or was there something more to it?
You know what's so cool about Tesla? He was really a visionary, like way ahead of his time.
Totally.
He just saw the universe so differently, not just like objects and stuff, but as this like symphony of energy, frequency, and vibration.
And that's what this video is all about, right?
Yeah.
Like this idea that everything is energy.
Exactly.
To make things happen, to attract things, you have to be on the same frequency.
Right.
It's almost like, I don't know, manifestation or something.
Yeah, it kind of has that vibe to it.
Right.
But remember, Tesla wasn't just some mystic. He was a brilliant engineer, like an inventor.
Of course, yeah.
His ideas were like rooted in science, for example.
Yeah.
He almost achieved wireless power transmission
Wait, what? Yeah.
with his Tesla coil.
No way. Tell me more about that wireless power that's like straight out of sci-fi.
I know, right?
How did he even try to do that?
Well, the Tesla coil was designed to transmit electricity through the air, no wires needed.
Oh, yeah.
He thought that if he could harness the power of these resonant frequencies, he could create a system to beam energy across huge distances.
That's insane. And it makes his famous quote even more mind-blowing.
Which one?
You know the one, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's like he knew how the universe worked on like a deep level.
Absolutely. And that's where the quartz crystals come in.
Okay, so the crystals.
Remember, he believed everything vibrates at its own frequency.
Yeah.
And quartz crystals, they're special.
Right. The video says they vibrate at something like 786,000 times per millisecond.
It's crazy, right?
It's like they're the most vibrating things on Earth.
Pretty much.
But what makes them so unique like that? Are there other things that vibrate that fast?
Well, lots of things vibrate, but quartz crystals are different. Think of a tuning fork.
Okay.
It vibrates at a very specific frequency, and that frequency is super pure and consistent.
Okay.
Quartz crystals are kind of like that. Their vibration is incredibly precise and stable, which makes them perfect for all sorts of technology.
So it's like a quartz crystal's vibration is like a pure tone and other materials are more like noise?
That's a great way to put it. And that purity of vibration, that's what makes them so useful.
I see.
But here's where things get even more interesting. The video says our thoughts and emotions also have frequencies.
Right.
You ever walk into a room and just feel a certain vibe?
Oh, yeah, totally.
That's energy. And according to this video, that energy has a frequency.
Okay, I'm listening. I've definitely felt that vibe,
Yeah.
but I never thought of it in terms of frequency. Are you saying like our thoughts and emotions are like tiny little Tesla coils sending out signals all the time?
In a way, yeah. And the video claims that crystals, especially quartz, can interact with those frequencies.
Oh, okay.
It even goes into the concept of chakras, those energy centers in your body,
Right. Chakras.
and suggests that crystals can like harmonize and rebalance them.
Yeah, I've heard of chakras, but I gotta admit, I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah.
Like, how do crystals actually interact with our energy fields? Is there any science behind this, or is it more of a spiritual thing?
Well, that's where the scientific community is divided.
Ah, I see.
Some researchers think that the effects of crystals are mostly due to the placebo effect.
Okay.
You know, like if you believe a crystal will help you, it might, even if there's no real physical mechanism happening.
Interesting.
But then others say there's more to it than just belief.
So there's a chance that there's a real interaction, but we just don't have the tools to measure it yet.
Exactly. And it's important to remember science is always evolving. What might seem like mysticism today could be scientifically proven tomorrow.
Right, totally.
But let's get back to quartz crystals and their properties.
Okay.
What I find fascinating is how these ancient objects, revered for their beauty and spiritual properties,
Mm-hmm.
are now essential components in our modern technology.
That is pretty wild.
Yeah.
So how did we go from ancient civilizations using crystals and rituals to having them in our smartphones and computers? What happened in between?
Well, the key is something called the piezoelectric effect.
Okay.
Basically, it means that certain materials like quartz can generate electricity when they're squeezed or put under pressure.
Oh, wow.
It was a huge discovery, and it opened up a whole world of possibilities for using quartz crystals in technology.
I bet that's how quartz is used in watches to keep time right.
Exactly. A tiny quartz crystal in a watch vibrates at a very precise frequency when you apply an electrical current to it.
Okay.
And this vibration is super stable and accurate. That's why quartz watches are so precise.
So my entire schedule basically relies on a tiny vibrating crystal.
Pretty much.
That's kind of mind-blowing.
It is when you think about it.
But the video goes even further and says that the ancient Egyptians were way ahead of us when it came to crystals.
Oh.
They even suggest that the pyramids might have been giant energy devices powered by quartz sand. That sounds like something from Indiana Jones.
I know, right?
Is there any truth to that?
Well, it's definitely a controversial theory.
Yeah.
But it is based on that piezoelectric effect we were talking about.
Right.
The idea is that the massive weight of the pyramid pushing down on the quartz sand beneath it could have generated a ton of electricity.
Okay, now that's really interesting.
Oh.
So are you saying the pyramids were like giant batteries? What were they supposedly powering?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
People who believe this theory point to the lack of soot in many of the inner chambers, suggesting they weren't lit by torches or oil lamps.
Oh, I see.
They also talk about how the pyramids are precisely aligned with the Earth's magnetic field,
Right.
hinting at a possible connection to energy flow.
Wow, this is getting more and more interesting. Ancient Egyptian power plants. It's almost too crazy to believe.
Yeah.
But then again, Tesla was considered crazy in his time, right?
He was definitely ahead of his time.
And look at the impact his ideas have had on the world.
True.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the craziest ideas are the ones that change everything.
Totally. But let's fast forward to today.
Sounds good. What's the latest on quartz and its uses in modern technology? I know it's used in watches, but what else?
Well, beyond timekeeping, quartz crystals are also found in radios, microprocessors, all sorts of electronics.
Hold on, really. So the device I'm using to record this right now probably relies on quartz crystals.
Most likely, yeah. Quartz's piezoelectric properties allow it to resonate at very specific frequencies,
Okay.
making it super important for filtering and stabilizing electronal signals. It's hard to imagine modern electronics without them.
Okay, that is fascinating.
Uh-huh.
But the video also touches on something else. This idea that crystals, specifically these slim crystal water bottles, can have a direct impact on our bodies. It's like a whole other layer to this quartz crystal mystery. Is there any scientific evidence to back up these claims about crystal-infused water having health benefits?
Well, that's where things get a bit more complicated. A lot of the claims about slim crystal water bottles and things like that rely on personal stories, not like real scientific studies.
Right, it's like, I drank this crystal water and now my headaches are gone. But did the crystals actually do anything?
Exactly. The placebo effect can be really powerful. If you think something will help you, it often does, even if there's no science to back it up.
Right.
But that doesn't mean crystals can't have some effect on the body. We know they vibrate at those specific frequencies, right?
Yeah.
And those frequencies could potentially interact with our own energy fields.
So while those specific claims might be a stretch, there's still a chance something's going on that we don't fully get yet.
I think so. It just shows how important it is to stay open-minded, but also be critical.
Totally.
Just because science can't explain something yet doesn't automatically make it true. But it also doesn't mean we should just dismiss it.
Well said. It's all about finding that balance. Speaking of intriguing possibilities, the video talks about this Professor Mark Cummings and his experiment with quartz amplifying energy.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds pretty wild.
It's a fascinating experiment. Cummings wrapped a wire around a quartz crystal and channeled energy into it.
Okay.
And the results were surprising. The crystal emitted 30% more energy than what he put in.
I mean, hold on. So it's like he was charging the crystal, but it was somehow making the energy multiply.
Right?
That sounds impossible. Wouldn't that break the laws of physics?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cummings' experiment definitely challenges what we know about energy conservation.
So what's the explanation?
Some physicists believe that quartz crystals might be tapping into some kind of energy source that we just haven't discovered or fully understood yet.
Could this be like the key to a new era of clean, sustainable energy? It's almost like we're back to Tesla's vision of a world powered by crystals.
It's a cool thought, right? And it goes back to Tesla's main belief that everything is energy frequency and vibration.
Yeah.
If we can figure out how to manipulate those frequencies, who knows what we might be able to do.
That's exciting to think about. But is anyone actually taking this seriously? Or is it still considered fringe science?
There's definitely a growing interest in these piezoelectric materials and what they can do for energy harvesting.
Okay.
Scientists are exploring using quartz crystals in all sorts of things, from solar cells to batteries.
Wow.
It's still early,
Yeah.
but the potential is huge.
So maybe Tesla wasn't so crazy after all.
Maybe not. But let's circle back to the human body for a sec.
Sure.
I'm still curious about those slim crystal water bottles and the whole idea of crystals affecting our health. What's the current scientific thinking on that?
Yeah. Is there like an official stance?
Well, as we said earlier, the specific claims about those water bottles and other crystal healing methods are often anecdotal and they don't have strong scientific support. But that doesn't mean the question of whether crystals can interact with the body is totally off the table.
So while those particular products might be more about marketing than science, there's still a possibility that crystals on some level could have an effect.
Yeah, possibly. It seems like there's a lot more research needed in this area.
Definitely. We're just scratching the surface of how energy, frequency, and living organisms all interact.
Exactly. It's a fascinating field with so much potential for discovery.
Okay, so let's recap. We started with Nikola Tesla, a total visionary, and his belief in the power of energy, frequency, and vibration. Then we talked about quartz crystals,
Right.
their ability to vibrate at crazy high frequencies,
Yeah.
and how that makes them so important in technology.
Mm.
We even touched on the idea that the ancient Egyptians might have used quartz to create energy in the pyramids.
It's a cool theory.
It is. And finally, we discussed the whole debate about crystals interacting with the human body and how much more research is needed.
Lots to think about.
Is a lot. So where do we go from here? What are your final thoughts?
I think the biggest takeaway is that there's still so much we don't know. Tesla's vision of a crystal-powered future might seem like a distant dream, but who knows what breakthroughs are waiting for us as we keep exploring these incredible crystals.
That's a great point. It's like we're at the edge of a new frontier full of possibilities. But something I keep wondering is if crystals are so powerful, why aren't they being used more already? What's holding us back?
That's a great question. I think part of it is that we're still figuring out how crystals work and how to use their full potential. It's a complex field that needs physics, chemistry, engineering, maybe even some intuition.
It's like we found this incredible toolbox, but we're still learning how to use all the tools.
Exactly. But that's what makes it exciting. There's a sense of wonder and discovery in this whole field.
I totally agree. It's like we're on the verge of a new era, a crystal-powered revolution. And maybe, just maybe, Tesla's wildest dreams weren't so far-fetched after all.
That's a thought-provoking idea. It just shows how important it is to be open-minded and explore all the possibilities, even the ones that seem unconventional.
Well said. It's like we always say, stay curious. So for our listeners who are just as fascinated by this topic as we are, what are some things they can do to keep exploring the world of crystals and Tesla's vision?
I think the first step is to just approach all this with a good mix of curiosity and a little bit of skepticism.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Don't just believe everything you hear or read. Do your own research.
Yeah.
Look at different perspectives and come to your own conclusions.
Right, and there's so much information out there these days.
Totally.
Books, articles, documentaries, online forums. It's like a whole world of crystal knowledge waiting to be discovered.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment a little yourself.
Oh yeah, like how?
Well, if you're interested in how crystals might affect energy or well-being, try working with different types and see how they make you feel.
Okay.
Maybe keep a journal, write down your experiences, and pay attention to any subtle changes you notice.
I love that. It's like becoming your own crystal scientist.
Exactly. You never know. You might stumble onto something groundbreaking.
That'd be awesome.
But always remember to approach this with respect and an open mind.
For sure. Speaking of respect, something's been on my mind. We've been talking about Tesla's vision of using crystal power.
Yeah.
But are there any ethical things we should be considering? Like, if crystals are really this powerful, do we risk exploiting them?
That's a really important question, and it's something we definitely need to think about as we learn more. If we discover that crystals have some kind of consciousness or awareness, our whole approach would have to change. We need to treat them not just as resources, but as partners in this journey of discovery and innovation.
I like that. That's a good way to look at it. It reminds us to be careful and humble.
Definitely.
But let's change gears a bit. The video mentioned something else about crystals that caught my attention, this idea that they can react not just to pressure, but also to sound and light.
Oh yeah, that's another fascinating area of research.
What is it?
It's called sonocrystallography, and it involves using sound waves to study the structure and properties of crystals.
So are you saying crystals can, like, hear sound?
Well, not here exactly, but they do vibrate and resonate in response to sound waves.
Wow.
And some researchers believe that certain frequencies of sound can actually change the molecular structure of crystals.
Hold on. So if you play the right sounds, you could actually change a crystal's properties.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It's based on real science, and it opens up a whole new world of possibilities for how we could use crystals in the future.
Like what? What kind of possibilities were we talking about?
Imagine being able to program crystals with specific frequencies to make them even better or to create totally new functions.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. So what kind of crazy crystal tech could we be looking at in the future? Are we talking crystal-powered spaceships? Or crystal computers that run on sound waves?
Huh. Those are some interesting ideas.
Huh.
While spaceships and sound-powered computers might be a bit far off, the potential is huge. Scientists are already looking at using crystals in things like advanced sensors, data storage devices, even medical treatments.
Wow, it sounds like crystals could be the key to all sorts of breakthroughs. But here's something I keep coming back to. If crystals are so powerful and versatile, why aren't they being used everywhere already? What's the holdup?
I think there are a few reasons. One is that we're still learning the basics of how crystals work and how to really use them. It's a complex field, and there's still a lot of research to do.
Right.
Plus, our current technology is mostly based on electronics and silicon.
Yeah.
So fitting crystal technology into that is a big challenge.
It's like we found this amazing new tool, but we don't know how to use it with our old tools yet.
Exactly. But that's where real innovation happens, when we challenge what we think we know and push the boundaries of what's possible.
Totally. And who knows, maybe someday Tesla's vision of a world powered by crystals won't seem so crazy after all.
I think Tesla would be pretty excited to see how far we've come, and he'd probably tell us to keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep pushing the limits of what we understand.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with one last thought.
Okay, shoot.
As we've seen, the world of crystals is full of mystery and potential. It's a place where science and intuition come together, where ancient wisdom meets cutting-edge technology.
I love that.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep that curiosity burning bright. Who knows what amazing discoveries are waiting for us just around the corner?
Right.